Welcome back. Well, Singapore's apex court has dismissed the appeal of former presidential hopeful Tan Cheng Bock against the legitimacy and timing of the reserved presidential election next month. The Court of Appeal released its written judgment today.
Under changes to the constitution passed in Parliament last year, an election will be reserved for a particular race if no one from that community has been president for 5 straight terms. Following the changes, former presidential hopeful Dr. Tan Cheng Bock filed an appeal, arguing that it was unconstitutional for the government to start counting from President Wee Kim Wee's term, as he had been elected by Parliament. Dr. Wee was in office when the elected presidency scheme took effect in 1991, and since there have been no Malay presidents in the last 5 terms, the upcoming election will be reserved for Malay candidates, which means Dr. Tan cannot make a second bid for office. But Dr. Tan's lawyers argued that the court should start from Dr. Wee's successor, President Ong Teng Cheong, as he was Singapore's first head of state to be directly elected by the people. In a 68-page written judgment released on Wednesday, the panel of 5 judges ruled that Parliament has the right to decide when to start the count of the 5 terms to trigger the reserved election. The court also found that the definition of a president elected under the Constitution includes those who were elected by Parliament and those elected by the people. On top of that, the court took issue with Dr. Tan's argument that, I quote, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong must have been mistaken about President Wee being elected by the citizens and must have been misled by the Attorney General's advice, and that this was the case for other members of Parliament. It said that there's nothing to suggest that there was any misapprehension. It also pointed out that Mr. Lee had explicitly said Dr. Wee's term was chosen as he was the first head of state to exercise the powers of the elected president. In a Facebook post, Dr. Tan said he and his supporters are disappointed with the verdict, but he accepted it with a heavy heart. He noted that some may say his court application was a fool's errand, but he said he felt the need to do so after the government instructed Workers' Party MP Sylvia Lim to go to court for answers as to why Parliament, which was acting on the Attorney General's advice, had chosen to start the count from Dr. Wee's term.
Meanwhile, presidential hopeful Mohamed Saleh Marakan has submitted his application forms to contest in next month's presidential election, which is reserved for candidates from the Malay community. The 67-year-old chief executive of Second Chance Properties was at the elections department with his wife and supporters today. Now, besides Mr. Saleh, former Speaker of Parliament Halimah Yacob and Chairman of Bourbon Offshore Asia Farid Khan have also announced their intention to run for president.